Today I'm going to show you the lesson for transitional kindergarten. It's called Seasons, and they're going to make a tree like this one, and they can make it in whichever season you decide to do. I know a lot of times if it's fall, you'll want to do a fall tree, kind of match whatever time of year you're doing it. So this is a fall tree that I did, and then today I'm going to show you how to make one, and we're going to make a spring tree. So you're going to start with this template. And I would print it on cardstock just because you're going to put all the paper loops up here and it kind of weighs down the paper, and so a regular sheet of paper is not quite strong enough to hold it. So just start with your tree template, and you can have the kids color it before or after they do the loops, but it's actually easier to color it before. So you can instruct them to color it. They just don't need to worry about coloring the treetop. If they do, it's not going to mess it up, but they could color the trunk and put some background if you want, or they can do it after they do the loops. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to quickly color my background and my tree trunk first. It's just a little bit easier because you're not having to work around the loops once they're glued on. Now I've colored my tree, or around my tree, I guess, and they can add whatever details they want. They can add grass, they can add flowers, they can add a picture of themselves or a person. You could remind them just to think whatever season they are in to make the person match. So if you're doing a fall tree, they could have the person in warmer clothes. Just try to make things match. But then again, it is TK, so you're gonna get whatever you get. So I'm going to do a spring tree today, so I'm going to use greens, whites, and pinks because I want to make it look like the tree is blossoming. And you need about 15 loops, I would say, to fill in the tree. And they may glue them closer or further together and need not so many, but I would give them about 12 to 15 loops, and then they can decide how they want to fill in the tree. So here I'm just going to grab my loops. And another option that you could do is you could do the green and then you could give them a few strips of red and it would look like an apple tree. That might be a good one to do for summer since we are talking about seasons for this lesson. Okay, so I have my loops and my strips of paper here, and these are just 1 by 6 inch strips of paper. So what they're gonna do is, and I would have them, you could set aside the paper and have them make all of their loops first. And all they're gonna do is they're gonna take their strip of paper on one end, put a dot of glue. And I like to tell them to do a dot of glue for like 5 seconds. To count to 5, that kind of helps them get the right amount of glue on because they do need enough that it's gonna stick. And then after putting on the glue, they're just gonna pull the other side around and connect it. And this is a good activity for the TK kids. It's a good fine motor skill activity, kind of teaching them to do, they kind of have to do a few different things. So it kind of gets them to think, and it gets them to work on those fine motor skills because they have to glue and then pull the paper on. And then once they've done that, I like to tell them to again count to 5 after they've glued it. So hold it together and count to 5 and then set it down. So I would have them just make all of their loops before they start gluing them onto the tree. So I'm just going to glue all my loops. So now I've made loops with all of my strips of paper, so they're all ready to go. And they may find some of them may not want to stay. They might kind of pop back open, and that's just let them know if that happens. Not a big deal. They can just add a little bit more glue on the end of the strip and they'll stay. So now they're going to glue them onto the tree and fill it in. So I would have them just add glue. They can just hold the strip and put some glue on the strip and then stick it on. If you find that it's a little bit too difficult for them to get good amount of glue on while holding the loop. It is tricky. They can always just put a dot of glue on the tree as well. So you can have them work whichever way is better for them. If it's easier for them to put the dots on the tree, that's fine. It is easier to put the glue on the tree since it's flat. So there is my finished spring tree, and I'll show you both of them side by side. So here's my fall tree and my spring tree. So just do whichever one fits the season that you're in. That might be a good way to talk about the seasons. One thing you can remind them to do is you can tell them to put the glue on the side where the strip met the ends. But again, it's TK, and if that is too difficult, it doesn't matter. If the seams of the loop show it, it really doesn't matter.